Hello, welcome to Let's Food and Barbecue. I'm gonna make some beef jerky, and I'm gonna do this combining a couple of recipes that I've seen. So tag along and I'll show you what I'm gonna be using. I will be using, for the wet parts, apple cider vinegar. This is the cloudy kind, which is the best kind. Some Japanese soy, I like that. It's a little bit less salty than the Chinese version. I've got maple syrup. So this is half a cup of each. And then I've got ancho chili, 1 tablespoon, chipotle chili, 1 tablespoon, ginger, 1 tablespoon, cayenne pepper, 1 tablespoon, and 1 tablespoon of crushed black pepper. So I'm going to start off by combining these into here, and then I'm just going to whisk it up, and I'm going to put this to the side while I slice up the meat. But we'll start with this. I'm going to let this marinate, or I'm going to marinate it meat overnight, and then I'm going to smoke it tomorrow. As the plan is at the moment, I will be using a cold smoker to cold smoke this and then dehydrate it in my dehydrator. I think that's going to be the easiest way to maintain temperatures and stuff like that, because I don't want this to be overcooked. Anyway, I'm going to try to get everything dissolved in here. Then I'm going to give it a little bit of a taste, just to see if it's spicy enough. Maybe I need to add a little bit more chili, who knows. Get myself a spoon. That's good. I'm going to be using that. Okay, so time to remove all the spices and bring out the meat. What I'm going to be using is top round, and this is actually the weekly campaign, Swedish, veckans kampanj, which makes this pretty well priced. It's 79 Swedish crowns, which is about $8 per kilo, and that would mean like $3.50 or so per pound. Anyway, this is 3 pounds of meat, and I think I'm gonna take a little bit of paper, pat this dry. Okay, so we got a little bit of connective tissue here, so I think I'm gonna cut this along there to get it remove that. I think this is actually a little bit of fat as well. We'll see once I get it loose. This is gonna make my dogs happy. I don't like leaving any fat when I make jerky, because there is a risk that it goes rancid. Oh, but it's not here, because this piece, 3 pounds or not, once done, it's not going to last very long. There we go. Remove this little piece as well. Something over here as well. Suddenly both dogs appear in the kitchen. Weird. I think that's good enough. Put this to the side. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna cut this along the grain because I want it to be chewy. So it's got a grain that way. I don't like the pieces to be too wide, so I'm gonna have this height-wise. There we go. These are gonna be pretty short, these pieces, but then I'm gonna cut these about 1/2 centimeter, 5 millimeters, or I think that would be like somewhere between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch. Don't want it to be too thin, but don't want it to be too thick either. All cut up. Then we're gonna add these to a bowl. This is a good bowl because it's got a lid, and then the marinade. Just gonna get that on there. Move the meat around, get it everywhere. There we go, fully covered, lid on, back tomorrow. And just like that, it's 24 hours later. I'm outside and I'm gonna start prepping the smoking cabinet that I'm gonna be using. I will be using my smoking spiral and applewood wood dust for this. I'm gonna cold smoke the jerky for 2 hours or so, something like that, and then I'm gonna move the jerky over to my dehydrator and finish it off there. It's just a bother trying to keep temperatures low enough when you don't have an electric smoker, for example, that could keep the temperatures at low. Anyway, so tag along and I'll show you how I'm gonna prep this. This smoke spiral is really easy to use. You can add sawdust to it all the way around and it would last like for a day or something like that. I don't have that much dust, but I think it's going to be enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the beginning. This is actually meant to be lit with a tea candle, but I will just use my little torch. Should be working pretty well. Okay, so what you do is you add dust along the edge like so. This is similar to using a smoke tube, but in this case it's you don't use pellets for this. I could do that, I guess, but I think this is a good way to cold smoke. It would just kind of lie there and create a nice smoke for this. There we go. I'm gonna even this out. Anyway, I picked this smoke spiral up. It was really cheap and I've used it quite a few times. It's really good when you make cold smoked salmon, for example. Anyway, there we go. So I'm gonna take it over to the cabinet and light it up. And just like when you use a smoke tube with pellets, what you do is you start by lighting up the sawdust, trying to get a flame, and once you have a flame you let it burn for a few minutes just to get it to start smoldering well. And then if the flame doesn't blow out by itself, you just blow it out and let it start smoking. The jerky has been marinating, like I said, 24 hours. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a little bit of paper towel to this, just so that I can kind of dry them off a little bit. I do suggest using gloves for this, even if you don't use gloves at other times, because this is pretty hot stuff. Anyway, I'm just going to speed this up so that you don't have to watch it all. I'm just going to get the excess off because I don't really want it to be too dry, because smoke sticks to wet meat. Anyway, transferring over to the racks. Simple as that. And there we have it. 3 racks, nicely spaced, and some smoke coming off. I'm going to close this up and leave it to its own devices, and I'll bring it back in a couple of hours. Okay, there we go. It's been about 3 hours, and I think it's taken on as much smoke as I wanted to do. We're going to check on it and then transfer it over to the dehydrator. Tag along. A little bit of smoke coming out there. Yeah, smoky enough. See, that's what I'm talking about. So I'm going to start by stopping the fire. You do that by kind of moving the burning sawdust away, any which way, and this is what the meal looks like. Still not dehydrated, but of course it's got a lot of taste. Just gonna get this moved onto the trays. I picked this up at the cheap store a couple of years ago and I've used it so much. really use it so much. A dehydrator is very good to have. I dehydrate chilies, I dehydrate beef for beef jerky, I dehydrate herbs. Yeah, you can dehydrate most everything. Today I'm gonna put it out in the garage so I don't have to hear it. And the dehydration process is gonna be somewhere around, I would guess, maybe 6 hours. These are pretty thick, but that's okay. It can be out there. Okay, lid on, power on, let it dry. See you in a couple of hours. This is actually the next day because it got dark, so I'm just going to show you what we ended up with. So this is what I'm looking for when I make jerky. I want it to be kind of like it starts breaking in the surface like that, and I just want it to be with a nice pull. So we're going to try this. Nice pull. It's really good. It's got a lot of flavor. Of course, I used a lot of chilies with this and some cayenne. Can also feel the sweetness of the maple syrup. This turned out really well. Well, I'm gonna enjoy this. It's probably just gonna last a few days, but that's the way it is with jerky. Anyway, if you want to do this, you can do it in a dehydrator. You can do it on the smoker if you can keep temperatures low. You can do it using your oven. Plenty of recipes around there out on the YouTube for it. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you for watching. Bye.